Hello, welcome to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton. This today, we've got some really interesting things to talk about as a man of a certain age because this it's going to be sad boy winter at the Oscars. Okay, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just that's what's going to be happening, just based off of two movies. Honestly, it's just the two movies I happened to see this weekend because they happened to be new to me. Both of them had been released in major cities previously, but finally arriving to South Florida. The two movies that I'll be reviewing today, is This Thing On and No Other Choice, are about men of a certain age, such as myself, going through it. They're going through it. There's a lot there, one of them dealing with, marital problems, perfectly fine in his career. The other one dealing with career problems, perfectly fine with his marriage. And they're sad boys and they gotta get through it. And we get to enjoy the ride. You know, for other potential men of a certain age, sad boys out there, potential trigger warning, you know, uh, talking about, relationship issues and talking about getting shit canned from your job because of, capitalism. Not fun, but it is what we're going to be talking about. And so there's your trigger warning. First thing we're going to be doing is This Thing On. Is This Thing On is brought to us by Bradley Cooper. We most recently saw a Bradley Cooper directed film with Maestro 3 years ago, and that one was okay. I it was released in a ridiculously strong top heavy year, where if there are 10 movies that are nominated for best picture every year. I absolutely loved 9 of them. This was the year of American Fiction. This was the year of Anatomy of a Fall. uh just an absolute banger year. I think this was Barbenheimer year. And then there was like Maestro. It was but now Bradley Cooper comes and takes a look at Will Arnett playing a middle-aged man who we find out at the beginning of the movie is going to be separating from his wife Laura Dern. They have 2 young kids, and they have friends who they don't want to tell about the situation, and they have a life that, while living in the suburbs of New York City, they never established. I believe it's Long Island. I suppose it could be maybe Connecticut, maybe New Jersey. They get on a train, so it really could be any one of those places. But I believe Long Island. Anyway, and it and what happens is Will Arnett is out one night, and he essentially stumbles upon an open mic, a comedy open mic, and he decides to give it a try, and it turns out he loves it. And so uh it's something that he returns to, and he slowly becomes part of the gang, but he's using his life, situations from his life, as the source for his material. And so uh, as kind of normal as that may seem, potentially it's also problematic if he's caught, and he obviously ends up getting caught, and that changes the dynamic of his separation. And it's an exploration. It's an exploration of how individuals can potentially deal with difficult relationship situations and difficult stages in life, and work their way through that. um you know the I'm not going to go too deep into the individual things that we see happen throughout, but you kind of probably know the beats because this is just a straight up relationship movie. So there's a birthday, yes, and we have to deal with the birthday, and there are parties with the friends, and yes, we have to deal with parties with the friends. And there are scenes where he does stand up, and sometimes it's funny because he's in a good mood, and sometimes it's not funny because he's in a bad mood. The beats we've seen before, but the beats work. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm probably vulnerable to this. Not that I'm going through marital situations, because I'm not. But also I am of a certain age, so I can kind of appreciate, lots of things in my life being such they are, like, how am I going to deal with these things, and looking for outlets. And um it's never easy. It's never easy to deal with these things, because on the one hand, uh you definitely want to look for support, and so he finds support through stand-up comedy, and that's awesome. And on the other hand, there are certain things that you can't find support for, and so he looks for stand-up comedy, and it's not always the answer. But the movie does a good job of communicating that. Like, he finds this thing which helps him with aspects of the problems that he's facing. But he also almost abuses that thing, and fails to be honest with himself and with those around him about why he's doing the thing. And through the stand-up comedy, he comes to a realization in his life. Um, and he understands, some of the mistakes that he's made. It's it is super mega formula, and but it does the formula well, and I commend that. Like, it uh I don't I'm not going to discredit it just because it's like, okay, well, I saw all these beats coming. And I'm really bad at seeing the beats coming, but I saw all these beats coming, and it it worked on me. It absolutely worked on me. Everybody's good. Will Arnett is fantastic. This had before season Oscar buzz. But then as it slowly was reaching into festivals, not that people weren't liking it, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is Hamnet, or oh my gosh, this is, like, this is Marty Supreme, or those type of situations where it's like, this is clearly an Oscar buzz. It's not really getting many nominations, let alone wins. And so, as I go through Dumpuary in January and February, and also during Dumpuary is finally you're going to release that that awards movie in my area, thank you, films. And so this week there were two mainstream releases. I didn't go to see either one of them because I went to these two Oscar potential movies that were finally made their way to my hometown. And so I got to see the one first that was like, oh, okay, it's not actually going to end up getting nominated for anything, even though it was positioned to do that. But that's okay. Not everything's going to get nominated, and it's definitely worth seeing. Like, it's 100% an adult movie, and it deals with a lot of adult themes, and it deals with them honestly and upfront, and I appreciate that. It treats everybody as an adult, while also being difficult and sometimes to deal with. So here at Real to Real Talk, instead of stars, we do tacos. And if we feel like something deserves a little extra love, instead of doing like a half a taco like you would with a half a star, we add guac. Why? Because nobody eats a half a fucking taco. That's why we're going 3 tacos plus guac. My standard is 3 tacos means I'll want to see it again. I liked it. I definitely a little more than liked this one. It really resonated with me, and it worked on me. this is going to be a mileage may vary. And so I definitely would be interested in other people's thoughts. And that was Is This Thing On? Next is No Other Choice. So No Other Choice is coming to us from Korea. This one's getting nominated. So let's just get that out of the way. No Other Choice is going to get nominated for Best Picture, guarantee Best Picture for Best Picture nomination. It's going to get nominated for Best Foreign Film. Guarantee. It's just, it has a lot of strength. And the director Park Chan-wook is beloved and is a master at his craft and loves the craft, and the Oscars reward that. They just I don't know, like when Parasite came around, it was obviously a serious contender. It won. I don't know if this one's a serious contender, but that's okay. So this one's getting nominated. This is No Other Choice. This is a story, and this is a story that I can relate to. About a man. He's middle management at a paper factory. The paper factory is in South Korea, is purchased by an American organization, company. Is it, they don't really ever establish if it's a paper company, an American paper company, or if it's just like a conglomerate that saw an opportunity for arbitrage to sell off the parts. But needless to say, the American company comes in and says, yeah, we're closing you down. And so he loses his job and he finds himself out of work, and he is out of work for an extended period of time, much longer than he anticipated. And he starts to deal with the stress and loss of self and loss of strength and just the loss of identity that comes with a man of a certain age losing their job. When you're younger, it's easier to deal with. Like, the world's your oyster. There's, when you reach a certain age, you don't, fucking opportunities just aren't there, man. The capital is a fucking bitch. And so after being unemployed for 13 months, he finds himself vying for one position that has opened up at a paper factory in South Korea. And he is able to identify the three top candidates that he's going up against, and decides that these guys are better than me, and I need to take out the competition. And and that means exactly what you think it is. This is a super, super mega dark comedy. With trigger warnings for anybody who has lost their job and is still scarred from having to look for a new job. The commentary that this movie plays on modern identity assignment driven by the capitalist ideals is amazing, spot on, timely, needed, just every superlative. And then to have this being told, this story being told in the hands of just an absolute master storyteller like Chan-wook is, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you other than this movie is just absolutely far too important for our time. I did a movie a couple weeks ago called The Secret Agent, which was a Brazilian film. No Other Choice is going to be going up against Secret Agent in the international film category. The Secret Agent was a movie that could be said it's perfect for its time because it's a real world warning about this is what happens when you allow your country to slip into fascism. This is a real world warning of, this is the shit that people are going through every day right now because of capitalism. And It's absolutely captivating. It is a hard hang though, man. I mean, if you have any empathy at all for this main character, and the wonderful, his son, who's older in high school, is going through it and having problems. His daughter, who is younger, elementary school, a cello, you know, absolute cello prodigy, who's probably on the spectrum, um, and who he has to pay for lessons for, but he can't afford them because it's just, and his wife, who has to go back to being a dental hygienist and who has, has to deal with her situation. All of the characters are super well developed, super layered. It's just a fantastic, fantastic, fantastic movie. This one's getting 4 tacos plus guac. I'm not at 5 tacos on it just because of, like, at some point it gets difficult. It just gets difficult, and um yeah, that's the only reason why. I almost took it too personally, I think. But in good ways, but also not necessarily in good ways. That's it, man. I had 2 movies for you this week. Next week, we've got Sergio coming back. We're going to be doing Bone Temple, 28 years later, the Bone Temple. Super excited for that. Love a zombie movie. We did a zombie movie last week. We're coming back for another zombie movie. We have an Affleck Damon movie. I bet you didn't even know that, coming on to Netflix, called The Rip. We'll be covering that, and we'll see what other goodies are in store. This is Real to Real Talk. I am your host, Paul Britton. Be sure, there we go. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're following us on YouTube. Just get out there and go see movies, man. Thanks. Have a wonderful week.